Let's talk about what's going on in the market, and let's talk about the shilling that Mashudu says is relatively flat. Started to pay some gains by Friday, but still under pressure above the 92 shillings threshold. Now, the central bank, has taken a variety of measures to try to influence issues around liquidity and to curb speculative trading. What do you make of the measures taken, changing the interbank lending rate, trying to ban some of the borrowers from lending on the interbank level, trying to restrict those borrowings, all those kinds of efforts?
Really, Lerato, I think this should have been done earlier, much earlier. Right now, the horse has already bolted, it's left the stable. So it's just a matter of closing the barnyards, of closing the gates. Really, it's going to work. I've seen it starting to work today because the shilling stable at those rates. But then again, it's a case of a little bit too much, a little bit too late.
All right, let's talk about what's going on the corporate side. Obviously, investors are in a bit of a quandary. They don't know whether to be investing in equities in a market that's so subdued, whether they should be going into treasury bills. Some of the banks have really had their fingers burnt, having been exposed to the yields on the bond market. What do you think should be an asset allocation in terms of how an investor looks at this market?
Right now, asset allocation, I would probably go to T-bills. I'm seeing the rates are rising. Also, again, as we've seen, interest rates are coming up. We are going to have the fixed income market performing in the next couple of months. I think the movers of the market will be the fixed income market, because really, when inflation is seen to be high, yields are good. Basically, the corporate side, basically equity side, I'm not expecting so much going forward. We really, there is no movement. It's going to be flat. As an asset manager, I'd put my money on T-bills and the fixed income market.
What about the fact that obviously we've seen events unfold in the United States, and the fact that a lot of African banks are geared towards US investments, and so there's the vulnerability as to what may happen in the United States, Kenya in particular, quite vulnerable, and that's also what's added to some of the currency pressures we've seen on the market. The yields not particularly attractive when you compare them to other emerging markets, and also the propensity of the government to manage its debts. Those kinds of things are what investors would be considering.
Really, it's a tough trading environment at the moment for anyone. But again, in the course of from experience, I've realized that there's always an opportunity somewhere, because somewhere in that market, someone is making money. We just have to look for the right place. Who is that someone and how is he doing it? Really, in any market, there's always someone making money. The thing would be to pinpoint where exactly it is that we're making money. Despite all those factors, despite the US factors coming in, there should be opportunities somewhere.
All right, we did get news reports today of Shelter Afrique having a fully subscribed bond issuance. Without going into the specifics here, I want to know whether or not this is the kind of environment where corporates can be issuing bonds and whether they do well. We've been really concerned about limited activities on the listing of companies like Britac and TransCentury. Why are things different on the corporate bond side?
It's not only on the corporate bond side, it's Shelter Afrique alone. If we look at Shelter Afrique, it has sector-specific factors. It's in the construction sector. Right now, we are all aware that the real estate market in Kenya cannot meet the demand. So for me, the full subscription is a show of investor confidence. That's fine. Things are not as well as you expect, but going forward, we are optimistic that really we are going to make money. Again in Kenya, the real estate market is very, very strong. I expect it to be the leader of I expect the real estate market to drive things going forward.
Obviously, if the fundamentals are right for the real estate and property sector, and we've also seen stellar results from housing finance to reinforce the point of view that you're reiterating, but a final pricing at 60 points above the relevant two-year Treasury bond deals, can they continue to do well like this?
Really, on the floating rate side of the bond, we only had a 40% subscription. That shows that investors are basically shifting their preferences somewhere else. 20%, above the 2-year, they will, going forward, I'm expecting them to have very expensive to have expensive debt on their books, but I'm sure they will be able to ride through that.
All right.
But of course, in the short run, they'll have very expensive debt in their books.
All right, market movers today. I mean, although we've seen subdued volumes, although improved from Friday's trade, what's moving the markets today? Mashudu was telling us a little bit about Olympia Capital and also Samir Africa. I mean, considering that the government, or not the government, but authorities have spoken about some sort of a cap, for lack of a better word, on energy supply or rationing of energy for industry and manufacturing, we should be concerned about what we're going to be seeing going forward.
Really, the government has done that, but if we look at companies in the energy sector, the KPLCs, the Kenoko bill, which in fact was moved quite a number of shares today. For them, let me talk about Kenoko bill. Kenol is very much well diversified throughout the region, not only in Kenya. So for them, their niche market, and they've also chosen their niche markets very carefully. I don't expect it to really, I don't expect the price controls to have much of an effect on their books. In fact, I expect them to perform much better going forward. Again, in the energy sector, we look at KPLC, one of my favorite stocks. Today it was a mover, which quite impressed me, given that the market was depressed. So, Lerato, your contention, well, I expect good things from that sector.